of the internal structures as well, used for digesting food. And when there's a trigger, and the trigger is some combination of chemical and physical stimulus, this tubule that's wrapped around inside the undischarged capsule shoots out like a harpoon. And that is, of course, what makes a jellyfish sting. And that's how sea anemones capture their food too. So this shoots out. This kind has spines on it, and it sticks into the object. Some of them thereby transmit toxin that kill the object. And the discharge of an nematocyst is the fastest biological action known. So and a sea anemone will have thousands and thousands of them. They can be used only once, and then the cell that made it is sloughed off, and another one has to replace it. So this is a very large expenditure of energy for the anemone, because these are really complex structures. These are the most complex structures secreted by a single cell. So people call sea anemones primitive, but in fact they have the most complex structures secreted by a single cell in the animal kingdom. Much more than our single cells we make. So, back to the story of Nemo. So the setting of the story of Nemo was the Great Barrier Reef, coral reefs. And there are anemone fish and anemones that host them living on coral reefs, but there are also those that live in the soft sediments, around reefs or even quite far from reefs. So anemone fish are not just animals of coral reefs. They occur in other habitats, but always in shallow water. Shallow meaning 100 meters or less. That's shallow. You know, the ocean gets to 10,000 meters a day. So 100 meters is just the thinnest skin on the top of the ocean. And of course that usually means close to land if it's shallow. So why do they live only in shallow water? Because some sea anemones go clear down to the bottom of the ocean. They go to 10,000 meters. But those that are symbiotic with clownfish live only in shallow water. And the reason is that the tissues that of the sea anemones have within them zooxanthellae. And I know you're all well aware of zooxanthellae. That's why you need natural lighting or mimics of natural lighting for your reef aquarium, because reef-forming corals, but not all corals, only the reef-forming ones, and some sea anemones have living inside their cells these algae, and they photosynthesize, and the products of photosynthesis are then leaked out, and the corals or the sea anemones can use them. They don't eat the algae. They can't digest plants. They don't digest the zooxanthellae, but the leakage of the simple carbon compounds is what they can use in their own metabolism. So all of the anemone fish hosts are restricted to shallow water, just as coral reefs are. Now, this is the distribution from my anemone fish site and from Fish Base of the anemones and the anemone fish distribution in the world. And one of the things you realize is they're restricted pretty much to the tropics, and they're restricted to the Indo-Pacific. There are none in the Caribbean, which is why I love this shirt I'm wearing. I bought it in the Bahamas. And you will know that many dive shops in Florida use the clownfish as their symbol. They don't live there. They live only in the Indo-Pacific. So it's a product, an accident of history, but that's the fact. We have some of the anemones that live as far to the east as Hawaii, but as you will know, there are no clownfish native in Hawaii either. So, what about their diversity? Well, there are about 10 species of anemones that are known to host clownfish. Remember I said there are over 1,000 species. So fewer than 1% of the anemones known in the world are host to clownfish. This is by no means a widespread phenomenon. I say question mark because there may be another species in the Red Sea. When I did my scientific revision of the anemones that host clownfish, I may have lumped 2 of them together. I don't think so, but it's possible there is an 11th one. And some of them have long tentacles, some have short tentacles, some live in soft sediment, some live on reefs. They're quite diverse. They belong to 3 separate families. That is, they're really not closely related. They all, however, simply give the fish a chance of a place to live. And the anemone doesn't have much choice. So the fish have found these species of anemones compatible. By contrast, the diversity of the fish is greater. There are now about almost 30 species known, but they all are closely related to one another. They all are members of the same subfamily and even the same genus, probably. They don't all look exactly alike. As you will know, there is a variety of them, but almost all of them have some combination of white stripes, either vertical or down the back, like that one. And they're basically an orange or a yellow body. Although there are a few that are black. These are members of the Homocentridae, the damselfish. And all of them are in the genus Amphiprion with the possible exception of the spine-sheath anemone fish. And that has been put in its own genus, but a lot of recent research has said they really belong to the genus Amphiprion. So there's some scientific debate about that. But whatever it is, it's either an Amphiprion or it's closely related to Amphiprion. It's in the same subfamily. So that's the diversity of the fish. So we have almost 30 species of clownfish and about 10 species of sea anemones. So how are they combined? Well, not all possible combinations occur in nature. Even in an area where you find a species of fish, it may not live in all of the host anemones there. And some of the fish live only have very restricted ranges. Some of the species of fish are very widespread. So one species of fish naturally occurs in all 10 host species. But about a third of them live with only one host. So there can be competition among fish living in the same place for the host anemone. And that's what I've done a lot of my research on, trying to figure out in nature what makes a sea anemone attractive to a fish. Now the other thing that many of you will know is that many of these sea anemones, many of these anemone fish can live with sea anemones that are not natural hosts. Condylactis, which comes from the Caribbean, is kept in reef tanks, and anemone fish will settle into them. In fact, because the natural hosts can be very rare, they're rare in nature, they're very large, many of them are difficult to keep, and they're very long-lived, I discourage keeping them. And so I used to encourage people, if you have to have an anemone for your fish, and the fish don't require it, if you have to have one, I'd say use one of the Caribbean ones. Well, I have discovered that in Florida, 90% of the Condylactis have been collected. The populations are now 10% what they were 20 years ago, because presumably of the reef hobby. And so I have a research project going on with a biologist in Florida who is trying to establish when their breeding season is so they can close the collecting period during that time and hope to bring the numbers back up. So I am now discouraging keeping any of these kinds of large anemones. collected